Greetings. Welcome to GDIC's webinar for the OASIS Phase II, Marketing and Public Relations domain. This webinar covers both small business and unrestricted tracks for the Marketing and Public Relations domain. My name is Cal, an AI assistant, and I am your host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDIC and a subject matter expert on self-scoring proposals. Ab will guide you through today's deep dive into the OASIS Phase II Marketing and Public Relations domain opportunity. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts, including over 200 successful self-scoring proposals such as OASIS+. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex offices throughout the US. So a few housekeeping notes. First, the link to the recording of the webinar will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first give a quick intro to GDI Consulting Services. Then start with giving the general information on OASIS+. Next we will have a thorough discussion of the scope of the Marketing and Public Relations domain. From there, we will deep dive into the scoring system and discuss score optimization as well. Ab will also touch on how you prepare the actual proposal, or what we call substantiation. The importance of compliance and factors such as pricing and partnering are also covered. Lastly, Ab will provide some strategy recommendations and experience sharing and then finish with the Q&A session. So with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to start the webinar. Ab?
Hello everyone, and thank you, Cal. As Cal mentioned, we highly recommend that you download the slide deck to refer back to it. Due to limited time we have, I might skip some content, but I wanted to have a full slide deck prepared for you so that you can always refer back to it for full explanations. Also note that we are holding separate webinars for all the 13 domains under OASIS+, and I will post the link to the webinar schedule page on our website in case you want to participate in other domain-specific webinars as well. But note that in each webinar, some of the information is similar. I just don't want you to, see repeat stuff. But when we dive into the scoring system of that particular, domain, that's where the differences arise. Also, for those of you who are unsure if you should go after this opportunity at all, and whether you have the minimum requirements or not, we have a pre-qualification assessment service for just $490, and we assess your contracts and tell you your chances and gaps, so that you can be sure of your eligibility with minimal cost. I will put the link to that page on the chat as well. Okay, let's start now. Let me very quickly give you a short intro to our company and then dive into OASIS+. So GDI Consulting has been in business for over 15 years, and we have established ourselves as the premier self-scoring experts in the market. This is not a boast. Just see those numbers, including the fact that we prepared 97 successful proposals for our clients in OASIS+, the initial bidding. So 97 awards we got. That speaks by itself. We have over 650 satisfied repeat clients, 86 of whom are very large businesses, some on the top 10 list of largest defense contractors. You can later refer to this page for more information on our company, because we're short of time, so I'll skip the rest of this stuff. Now, I won't go into the details of our services, as most of you are repeat webinar viewers, and will just suffice to say that we have 4 main lines of service, including proposal development, capture management, specific support services like competitive intel or price to win, and finally customized training. So we strive to be a one-stop shop for federal and SLED BD needs of small and large companies. Okay, let's start with the OASIS Plus then, and get some general info about it. We call it OASIS Plus 101. So it's good to take a look at the previous OASIS contract, which ran from 2015 to 2025. These years are approximations, as there were different pools awarded at different times. So this is the graph showing the government's spending on this contract during its course of performance. And you can see that towards its end, the government was spending about $10 to $12 billion per year on this contract. Blue is the unrestricted contracts spendings, and orange is the small business contracts spending. Okay, and in terms of the top 10 agencies using OASIS, obviously GSA has been the main user, but since these numbers are all in the billions of dollars, don't underestimate the other agencies involved. More than 30 agencies have been buying services through this contract. Okay, so let's now look at OASIS Plus. That was OASIS, the previous contract. Let's now look at OASIS Plus. So we have the general information. GSA is the contract owner. It's a multiple award IDIQ GWAC government-wide acquisition contract, meaning that all federal agencies can actually put out task orders under this. It has an open ceiling, number of awards unlimited, and this phase 2 also unlimited as well. Contract duration is 5 years plus one additional 5 years. You can think of it as an overall 8 years now, because we are nearly 2 years into it, or less than 2 years actually. First round was awarded. Phase 2 has started January 12th, 2026, officially has started. And it's a rolling admission system, so there's no due date specific. Obviously, the sooner you can get on it, the better, because then you can participate in the task orders that are out there. Now, there are 6 tracks, as they're called. You can think of it as 6 different contracts. The contracts are segregated by the type of company. So there is a total small business contract or track, 8A small business, hub zone small business, STV OSB, WOSB, and unrestricted. So these are the 6 tracks that we have. Now, just so we have one vocabulary, from here on, when I discuss small business, when I say small business, I mean the first 5 tracks. So all these, the total small business, 8A, hub zones, STV, OSB, WOSB, from here on, when I say it's a small business, especially when we go into the scoring, meaning all these 5. So if you're in any of these, that's you. And then we have the unrestricted, or UNR for shorthand on that. Now, in terms of the numbers of the original OASIS Plus awards, you can see that 588 unrestricted, 1,375 total small business, STV OSB 345, WOSB 309, 8A 181, Hub Zone 131. The numbers might be a little bit more than these, because these are, I think, a couple of months old. They might have awarded a few here and there. But do remember that first of all, there is no competition, so these numbers might double as far as the government is concerned. I mean, there's no competition for phase 2, and also don't forget that this doesn't mean that, for example, if you're going for STV OSB, you have 345 competitors. No, these are separated into the domains. So we're going to have, these are about the 8 previous domains. 5 have been added for overall 13. So it's not that these are the numbers of your competitors in each of these set aside economic socioeconomic types. It also depends on the domain as well. Now, in terms of the domains, left hand side, the orange domains, these are 8 of them. These were the original OASIS Plus. Now they've added 5 more on the right hand side, the green ones. So technical and engineering, T&E, management and advisory, M&A, research and development, R&D, intelligence services, enterprise solutions, which is only for unrestricted track, facility services, logistics services, environmental services. And to the right, business, these are the new ones, business administration services, human capital services, financial services, marketing and digital outreach services, and finally, social services. So it nearly covers all types of services work except horizontal and vertical construction. Even construction trades are included in facility services domain. So even the trades are there, just the horizontal and vertical construction services are not there. Now, many call this non-IT services contract. That is a mistake. Out of the 97 clients that we helped win on this, 36 of them were IT companies. So depending on the type of IT work, many of them fall in the parallel to the type of work done under, for example, technical and engineering. The first one, first domain, research and development, third one, and intelligence services, and perhaps even in the new domains. So that is why many IT services companies can and should also go for this opportunity. Okay, so let's start the main subject of our webinar, which is the marketing and PR domain. So the marketing and PR domain includes services such as delivery of communications, media and public research campaigns, supports branding, messaging, and federal awareness initiatives, includes media buying, social media, and digital storytelling. Agencies use these services to improve performance, outreach, or internal operations. Now, these are the type of services that you would expect to receive task orders for. And obviously, your line of business should be in similar type of work to go after the marketing and PR domain. Now, the relevant NAICS codes for marketing and PR domain include those used in professional services, compliance, and delivery. We'll come back to these NAICS codes when we discuss scoring, but in case you want to know what the NAICS codes, acceptable NAICS codes are, I've listed them here. Now, if your firm supports capabilities in the marketing and PR area, this is your chance to gain a spot on OASIS Plus. So from small business specialists to experienced incumbents, there's room for many participants. Now, who should specifically participate? For example, marketing and PR agencies with or without federal campaign experience, digital content firms producing video, podcasts, or webinars, consultants specializing in stakeholder outreach or brand strategy, design firms supporting mission communication and infographics, firms offering social media analysis and reporting services, emergency response and behaviors change messaging experts, creative small business teams with public sector exposure, or actually even without public sector exposure, but who want to go after public sector contacts, JVs that combine PR with strategic planning and analytics, legacy schedule contractors for from 541 or 738 pools, and event management or campaign orchestration vendors with results. These are some of the examples of companies who might be interested in going after marketing and PR domain. So if you're good that we want to go after this domain, let's understand the scoring system, which is the main important part of how you can actually win on this opportunity. I'm assuming that you're familiar with the concept of self-scoring proposals. We don't have time to go over that in this webinar, but if not, please refer to our previous webinars on this subject on our website. We have a lot of webinars on self-scoring systems and discusses how it works. So to start with, there are 50 points, and this is specific to marketing and PR domain for OASIS Plus. There are maximum 50 points, whether you're a small business or you're unrestricted large business. Maximum is 50. Now, if you're above 36 for small business and above 42 points for unrestricted, you get an award. So there's a threshold here, 36 or 42, and you want to be above that. Now, what constitutes your score? Where do you get those points from? There are three main factors. One is qualifying projects, or QPs. So we are going to use this term QP a lot. So when I say QP or QPs means qualifying projects, it means contracts essentially. And we're supposed to provide 5 of these. So 5 QPs will get you 41 points, whether you're small business or unrestricted. Maximum points you can get out of those 5 QPs is 41 points. Next score factor is called Federal Experience Projects, or FEPs. For FEPs, you get 5 points again, whether you're small or unrestricted submission. And then the third score factor, Systems, Clearances, and Certifications, is 4 points. Again, small business and unrestricted are the same. So these are the main 3 score factors, and we will go deeply into each of these. They have their own sub-factors in the next few slides. So as you can see, 41 compared to 5 or 4, QPs are the king. The 5 qualifying projects are the main key players that decide whether you're going to win on this or not. Now, if you compare them graphically, you can see that everything revolves around those 5 contracts, 5 QPs that you bring to the table. And let me put your worries at rest here as well. If you don't have 5 qualified contracts, you can always bring in partners and team members and use their contracts. This is allowed, and I will explain this in detail later. So let's now dive into each of the 3 main score factors and see what sub-factors they have and how the scoring works for these. But again, I just wanted to emphasize, you can see how important QPs, the 5 contracts you bring to the table for QPs, are compared with the other 2. So let's start with the QP factor and dive into that. Now, there are 5 sub-factors under marketing and PR domain for the QPs. These change for other domains. So I'm talking specifically about marketing and PR domain. Under that, the QP factors are relevance, scale, integrated experience, management and staffing, and past performance, and we'll discuss each of these separately now. So if you want to compare them again, these are the sub-factors under QPs. Again, you can see here, relevance gets you 20 points. This is the accumulation of the points you get for the 5 contracts, 20 points. And when you compare it with the others, that's again the king here, the main factor. Although you don't want to miss on any of the others either, but you want to understand that relevance is the most important factor here. So let's go into each of these now. Let's start with relevance. You can get up to 5 QPs or contracts, each contract getting a maximum of 4 points. 4 times 5, you come to 20 points, and it's the same for small business and unrestricted. Now, what type of contracts you can bring to the table? These contracts can be federal prime contracts, federal subcontracts, or commercial contracts. And when I say commercial, it means also state and local. That's considered commercial. So all of those are acceptable. When I say commercial, state and local plus any real commercial contract that you have. For federal prime contracts, they can be standalone contracts, or they can be task orders under multiple award IDIQs or BPAs, single award IDIQs or BPAs, FSS, GSA mass, or BOAs. So all of these are acceptable. Remember, I said task orders under these. So you can't use an IDIQ by itself. You have to use the task orders under that. OTAs, other transaction authority contracts, are allowed, but grants and co-op agreements are not acceptable. So you can't use grants or co-op agreements. And finally, contracts must be based on FAR Part 37 services, meaning that, if you had a contract to supply some sort of equipment to the government, you cannot use that. This is a services contract, so the contracts you bring to the table for the 5 QPs must be services as well. Now, there are 4 requirements specifically that we have to go over for relevance, other than the type that we discussed. The first one is value. So first requirement is the minimum annual value. So contracts must have an annual value of at least $500,000 for small business and $1 million for unrestricted submission. So how do you calculate that? For ongoing projects, the total expected or contractual value, what's on the paper, is divided by the total expected, again, contractual duration, including all option years, to give you the annual value. So if a contract is for $10 million for an expected duration of 5 years, perhaps 1 base year and 4 option years, that's considered 5 years. Then the annual value is 10 million divided by 5, coming to $2 million annual value. That's how you calculate it. If you have a completed project, so the project is finished, then the total obligated, what was actually paid to you, is divided by the actual duration of the contract. So maybe the contract was for 5 years initially, but it was finished in 4 years or in 6 years. You use those numbers, 4 or 6, whatever it is. That's how you do it for completed projects. Second requirement is contract date. So if the project is ongoing, it must have at least 6 months of completed performance as of January 12, 2026, meaning that it must have been awarded to you and started before July 12, 2025. So you can't use a contract that you got 2 months ago, for example. If it's a completed contract, then the completion date must be within 5 years from January 12, 2026. Go back 5 years, that would be January 12, 2021. So between these 2 days, 2021 and 2026, if the completion date was within that, it's acceptable, but nothing older. It doesn't matter when it started. Maybe it started 20 years ago. It doesn't matter. But the completion date must be within the past 5 years. Third requirement is past performance rating. The contract must have a past performance rating of above. Note I have underlined this, meaning that it must be above and not equal to satisfactory. That's the average of all the subfactors. It comes from your CPARs. If you don't have a CPAR, there's a JP6 form that comes with the RFP, and you can use that instead of a CPAR if you don't have that. Finally, the fourth and most important is relevance itself. So the scope of the contract must be relevant to the domain, either through what is called auto-relevant NAICS or a JP6 form. Now, auto-relevant NAICS are the NAICS codes I showed you previously. I'm going to show you on the next slides. So these are considered auto-relevant. Is if your contract has those numbers, any of those NAICS codes on it, that's it. You don't need to provide anything else. If not, and I've seen many cases of that, that the NAICS is something else, but the scope is actually relevant to, for example, marketing and PR domain, then there's a form that comes with the RFP called JP3. You have to get that signed by the contracting officer or the prime if you're using a subcontract. And if the contracting officer signs off on that, you're good to go on relevance. And here are the list of the NAICS codes. These are called auto-relevant NAICS codes. If your contract have any of these on it, so the NAICS code of the contract is one of these, you're good to go. And remember, I've put in size standard here. So 512110 means it means that the $40 million means that if the total revenue of the average total revenue the past 5 years of your company is less than $40 million, you can actually participate as small business under this. If it's more than $40 million, then you have to go as unrestricted. So this helps you in terms of understanding whether you're small or large. And this is the second slide with regards to the auto-relevant NAICS codes. So that was relevance. Let's Now look at the second subfactor, which is called scale. So for each QP contract, you can get a point if its annual value is greater than or equal to $1 million for small business and $2.5 million for unrestricted. Remember, the minimum was 500K for small business and 1 million for unrestricted. But you get an extra point if it's, instead of 500K, it's 1 million for small business and 2.5 for unrestricted. Or maybe the value is not that high, but the number of FTEs, full-time employees, is equal or greater than 5 for small business or 12 for unrestricted. In that case, you get a point. Now you get a second point for that QP if its annual value is greater than or equal to $2 million for small business and $5 million for unrestricted. Or maybe the value is not high, but the number of FTEs, full-time employees, is equal to or greater than 10 for small business and 25 for unrestricted. So you can see in scale, based on the value, the annual value of the contract, as well as the number of FTEs, you can get extra points. Note that the credit is provided for the total annual project value, not just the portion relevant to this domain. So maybe, the contract that you bring to the table had many other types of work. It doesn't matter, the value of that $2 million or $5 million, whatever, doesn't have to be exactly towards this particular marketing and PR domain. Also, the total maximum score for this subfactor is 6 points for both small business and unrestricted. So even if all your QPs, for example, get 2 points, which 5 times 2 would get 10 points, but the maximum you will deserve under this subfactor is 6. Okay, let's now discuss the third subfactor, integrated experience. Here you get 1 point per QP if 5 or more labor categories were used in the execution of your contract. Like clerk, engineer, manager, things like that. Or for that QP, if the scope of the contract covered the 3 or more domains out of the 13 domains. Sometimes, it might be a marketing and PR domain type work, but also at the same time you did some human capital work, or you did administrative business, things like that. So if you can prove that the scope covered 3 or more, you get a point. Also for the unrestricted submission, this is not for the small business part, but for unrestricted, if you had 3 or more media channels in a single campaign, you get a point too. Now, media channels includes broadcast, digital, owned, digital out of home, print, earned, and experimental. All of these are considered different channels. Finally, note that the point score is either or, meaning that, for example, if a QP has both 5 or more LCATs and covers 3 or more domains in its scope, it won't get 2 points. It still gets 1 point. So 1 point per contract maximum. Okay. Fourth subfactor is management and staffing. For each QP, you get 1 point for any of these features in your contract that there are 3 of them. So there's surge, which means the definition of surge is increase of more than 10% of the value or the work done in less than 45 days of lead time. That's the definition of surge. So if you have surge, you get the point. Or if you use 3 or more subcontractors, 5 for unrestricted, you get a point. Or if you used 5 or more personnel with clearance, meaning secret, top secret, and above, and 2 for DOE, Department of Energy. So any of these, you get a point. Now, a contract can get up to 3 points. So maybe it has all of these that I mentioned, surge and subcontractors and personnel with clearance, but the overall points remains the same: 7 for small business and 6 for unrestricted. For the sum of the 5 contracts cannot get more than those points. And the last subfactor is past performance. If all 5 contracts have a positive, that's above satisfactory past performance rating, shown by their CPAR or filled out JP6 form, you get the maximum 3 points. If 4 out of the 5 have above satisfactory, you get 2 points. If 3 of the 5 out of the 5 have above satisfactory, you get 1 point, and below that you don't get any points. An important note is that you can use JP6 forms. It's like a PPQ, past performance questions, only if CPAR is not available. And remember, you can't use any PPQ form. You must use the form JP6 that comes with the RFP. Also note that I said above satisfactory, and that is the average of the CPAR ratings. I'll show you that in the next slide. So, but if it's satisfactory, it's not acceptable. So it has to be above satisfactory. Now, finally, for the UNR track, the unrestricted, if all 5 contracts had a very good or exceptional rating for small business utilization subfactor in the CPAR, then you get 1 extra point. That's why it's essentially 3 points for small businesses and 4 points overall for large businesses. Now, how do you actually calculate, understand whether you're above satisfactory? Usually, there are different subfactors in CPAR rating, and the same for JP6 form. These are technical, or sometimes called quality of service, schedule, or sometimes called timeliness, cost control, management, or business relations, sometimes it's called, and finally, small business subcontracting. So these are the different subfactors that are usually on CPARs. Now, the way you calculate your average score is that you give a point score to the rating. So that is, exceptional is considered 5, very good is 4, satisfactory is 3, marginal is 2, and unsatisfactory is 1. You replace these numbers for the ratings, adding them up and then dividing by the number of applicable ones. If a rating is NA, not applicable, you don't count that. So let's look at the example we have. Say we have in the orange box, the block. We have a technical, which is exceptional. We put a 5 there. Schedule is satisfactory. We put a 3. Cost control is marginal. We put 2. Management is satisfactory. We put 3. And small business utilization is NA. So we don't count that. So the calculation is 5 plus 3 plus 2 plus 3 comes to 13. You divide by 4, not by 5, because small business utilization is NA. So you divide by 4, it comes to 3.25. It is above 3, 3 is satisfactory, above 3, thus this contract can be used. So this is how you actually calculate whether you're above satisfactory or not. I hope this helps. Okay, there's also one special case that I want to cover. If you have a single award IDIQ or BPA and emphasis is on single award and you being the prime, then you're allowed to bunch up the task orders together and consider it as one contract. Remember, you can only have one do this once. So out of the 5 QPs, only one of them can be like this, a collection of task orders. For example, consider the case of a single award IDIQ whose task orders all have say annual value of 100K or so. So they're all smaller than 500K. You can't use those task orders. But you can actually bunch up together, say 5 or 6 of these, get above 500K, bunch up the number of FTEs you have used, get scores for those, and this way actually use such a single award IDIQ with smaller value task orders as one contract. So that's a special case in case you have this type of contract. Okay, let's now dive into the details. That was QP. Let's dive into the details of the FEP factor, Federal Experience Projects. So there are 2 sub-factors involved here. One is the number of task orders. One is the number of federal agencies. I will cover each separately, but you can see 4 for task orders and 1 point for federal agencies. Now, you get 1 point for each task order that you have performed under a multiple, emphasis on multiple here, multiple award IDIQs or BPAs, you must be the prime. So first of all, it has to be a multiple award IDIQ or BPA, not single award. And also you must be the prime. So you can't use a contract in which you are a subcontractor to a multiple award IDIQ. No, you must be the prime yourself. So the maximum points is 4, meaning that you can actually have up to 4 different task orders, 1 point for each. Now these can come from one multiple award IDIQ or BPA or under different ones, doesn't matter. Also, these contracts don't need to be the same ones you used in for the QPs. They can be completely different ones, or maybe you've used them for the QPs. That's fine. It's up to you. So the requirement is essentially first they must be task orders under prime federal services, multiple award IDIQs or multiple award BPAs. Secondly, they must have an annual value over 250K, and it's the same for small business and unrestricted, 250K annual value. And third, they must be ongoing for 6 months or completed within the past 5 years, like the QPs, with the same restrictions in timing. Now, what's important is that their scope does not have to be relevant to this domain. So they don't have to be about marketing and PR. Maybe they're, IT, maybe they're research and development, whatever. It doesn't matter. They just want to know that you've done 4 task orders under multiple award IDIQs. Okay, the second subfactor is about the number of federal agencies you have worked with. If you can show that you have worked with 3 different agencies, you get 1 extra point. Work meaning that you've got contracts. Now, these must be standalone or task orders with those 3 requirements similar to the previous subfactor, meaning that you have to be the prime contract holder, annual value over 250K, and 6 months of performance if ongoing or completed within the past 5 years. Again, here you don't have to show relevance to the domain, and the contracts don't have to be the same ones you have used elsewhere for the QPs or FEPs. So these can be completely different, 3 different contracts that you bring to the table, and they can come from your subs as well. So it's a good one. Okay, so that was the second main factor with its subfactors. The third main factor is called systems, certifications, and clearances. And it has 3 subfactors: accounting system, facility clearance, and other certifications. I will go very quickly over these as we don't have that much time. So for the accounting system, you get 1 point if you're a small business, and then 2 points if you're a large business. The accounting system for small business and large is the same, and then you can see a list of accounting system, approved rates, purchasing system, estimating system, so on and so forth. If you have another one of those, for large businesses, you have to have 2 others in addition to accounting system to get that 1 extra point. So overall 2 points there. And note that these must be government approved, whether it's accounting system, EVMS, or estimating system, whatever. They must be government approved, not third party. So if you have an accounting system that is, approved by a third party, an independent party, not the government, it cannot be used. Okay, the second subfactor is facility clearance. You get 1 extra point. So it doesn't matter if it's a top secret or secret FCL. You just have to have it, but it must be active. So pending facility clearance doesn't count. It has to be an active facility clearance. And for other certifications, you get a point if you have an ISO 9001 or ISO 22301. Either of these, if you have it, you get 1 point. Now there's a special case I also wanted to mention, and that's for mentor-protege JVs. And the QPs and FEPs that you bring to the table as a mentor-protege. For QPs, at least 1 QP must come from the protege company. So this is important. You can't have all 5 QPs coming from the mentor. The minimum threshold annual value, however, for each domain is halved when a protege submits a contract. For example, for marketing and public relations small business, The minimum annual value of QP contracts, the usual is 500K, but when a protege, when you're submitting as a mentor protege and the contract is coming from the protege, then it can be above 250K instead of 500K. This also works for FTEs. If you get 1 point for 20 FTEs, for example, if it's coming from the contract is coming from the protege and you have 10 FTEs, you get the points. The same rule applies to FEP contracts, federal experience contracts as well. So the total there, the annual value, minimum annual value was 250K, but if the contract is coming from the protege, it can be above 125K. And finally, these rules apply to the UNR submissions too. So for a mentor protege JV submitting under marketing and public relations UNR, then the annual value of the contract that the protege can bring to the table doesn't have to be $1 million. It can be above 500K. So that was a special case. So that was the scoring system for this domain. Let's now discuss eligibility assessment as well as score optimization. These are the first steps that you should take. If you have multiple contracts, use a tool to first profile your contracts and see what score each will bring for you, and then which 5 QPs to select to maximize your score. I'll show you our eligibility assessment tool on the next slide. To do that, you need to read the RFP and the Q&As, usually the previous Q&As and the latest RFP documents for the original OASIS Plus carefully, and fully understand the requirements for each score factor. You must create a table to score each score factor for each of your QPs. Then estimate your best score and do a gap analysis of where you're short. In doing that, focus on maximizing the score on the 5 qualifying projects and maximize the use of your commercial subcontract projects if possible. Now, following your gap analysis, decide on partnering and multiple partners, maybe, to boost your score. You should consider outsourcing the eligibility assessment to ensure you have a good chance of success. Now, this is a form we use to do eligibility assessment for our clients, and I'm going to give you the link for this service as well. It makes sure that you don't spend money on something that you don't have a chance on, and also ensures you know where your gaps are to bring on team partners. So for each contract, you have to, on the column on the right-hand side, the yellow column, is where you actually respond to them, the value, duration, whether you use 5 FTEs or not. So these are the specific questions that we have prepared that you have to answer to. And then based on that, this is another page. Now, based on the previous slides form, our tool creates this, which independently scores each contract. The 10 columns from the right and the graphical representation of the score below it, are produced from those the previous form that I showed you, and then it automatically picks the best 5 to maximize the score. So those columns that are green are the best 5. The orange column is the final best score you get for each subfactor, scoring subfactor, with the total at the bottom. In this case, it's 44 out of 50, which is good. This is a small business submission. So this is specifically telling you, hey, you're good to go. You don't need a partner. You are a few points above the minimum threshold of 36. So everything is good. Maybe the total comes to, say, 32, in which case where this shows you where you're missing points and what partners to look for to actually get those points above 36. So we call this the eligibility assessment service that we're providing. And if you're interested in our eligibility assessment service, you can click on the offer tab on the right hand side panel to go to the link to read more on the service and request it if you want. Let's discuss substantiation now. Remember, the proposal you're supposed to provide is essentially the documents that prove your self-score is justifiable. These are the award document, perhaps, the statement of work, the SAO, the FPDS printouts of the contract. FPDS is the government website that has lists all the contracts. So it's considered official document when you have a printout of it. The CPARs, or the JP6 in lieu of CPAR, and the JP3 form if your contract's NAICS is not what it's supposed to be, or if you're a sub and want to prove relevance and other QP sub-factor information. So you need to tag and highlight the relevant information on each piece of document. Let's see some example of this. So this is an example of Word document with relevant pieces of information highlighted and tagged as well. This is an FPDS printout, again with relevant pieces of information like contract number, dates, values, etc., highlighted and tagged. So this is how you the documents. Now you can see that there are a lot of moving parts involved, so you need to know what documents you need to present to justify each point score. They're not necessarily just one document required per point score. So you need a checklist sample here, for example, to ensure that nothing is missing. This is an example of a checklist for the 5 contracts that were selected for QPs are listed at the above under 3. Those are the 5 contracts, and below it are the documents that are needed. And when it's ticked, it means that it's ready and it's prepared. So for each of the score factors, you might need different documents, and they have to be tagged, highlighted, things like that. So a lot of document management work needs to be done. Okay, so that brings us to the importance of compliance in these self-scoring proposals. Due to shortage of time, I will not go into the slides about compliance. I just want to emphasize the importance of compliance. I've seen many companies, in fact, lose because of not paying enough attention to this and not paying the price for ensuring compliance when they're preparing their proposal. So please go through the slides that I have put in here and discuss it with your team when you are actually preparing your proposal. Now, with regards to price, there's always a question as to how price delay plays in the self-scoring proposal submission. The short answer is no score is given for price. They just check it to be within the acceptable range and complete for all items. That's it. A few points. You can refer to this slide later, but essentially you have to provide pricing for 20 LCATs at the SME subject matter expert level, and you want to make sure that you're not below the maximum you are below the maximum acceptable government rate. And that's all there is to it. They give you what is the maximum acceptable rate. You just want to make sure that you are below that. That's all there is to it. So it's very easy to prepare your price form. There's a form that comes with it, with the RFP. You just have to fill it out. Okay, teaming is extremely important in OASIS Plus. The short rule is if your own score cannot be above the threshold, use teaming, period. No indecision. In OASIS Plus, everything is about the score. Whether you get your score all by yourself or you have a team of 5 subs, for example, the government doesn't care. At the end of the day, the score is the king. Now, some key points here. I will not go into the details of all of them, but essentially, I recommend, or we recommend as our company, that if you're not 3 to 5 points above the threshold, so this is new. If you're not 3 to 5 points above the threshold, consider using a partner. You need those cushion points, those 3 to 5 points. For JVs, MPJVs, prime sub relationships, all are acceptable. You can use the partners contracts for QPs and FEPs, which account for nearly 90% of the total score. One important factor is that If you're a small business, your subcontractors must also be small under that particular domain. You can read the rest of these points that I've listed here later on when you refer back to it. And we have a free partnering portal. You can see the link here. I'll put it up on the chat as well. So you can actually register here, go find your partner, whether you want to be prime or sub, and this way you can actually communicate with them and reach an agreement and work from there. So this is a free partnering portal. We've already, I think 400 companies registered and got together during the previous OASIS Plus submission. So this is something very helpful. Okay, and this is the first page of that site. Let's now discuss strategy and share some experience. So this is perhaps the most important opportunity for many businesses for the next 10 years, or I should say 8 years. There is no competition, so use all means possible to win a seat, including partnering with other companies, either as prime or as a sub. Expand on domains. If you have past performance in any domains other than your main domain, but not the required 5 QPs, don't relent. Use partners and expand your grasp by going after multiple domains. This holds true for both small business and unrestricted tracks. For small businesses, don't stick to just your own set-aside track. First of all, you should also go for the total small business track. It's considered separate from 8A HubZone WOSB and STV OSB. It's a complete track. And secondly, if you have strong QPs, by all means go for the unrestricted track as well. Say you're sure that you get above 42, why not go for unrestricted as well? At the same time, don't be overconfident. Self-scoring proposals are all about analytical thinking. Good writing skills, which is the key strength of us proposal managers, is of no help here. You need to have good analytical thinking capabilities and good document management. Now, outsource if you have not done this before. Even if you have, get your proposal reviewed by an outside source. I've seen many companies lose because of not doing that. Now, focus on your QPs. They are the driving factor. I think I've shown that in different ways to you. First, do an eligibility assessment to understand your gaps and the need for teaming. Maximize your score. Use a per contract scoring system to see what your score looks like. If below the threshold, that's 36 for small business, 42 for unrestricted, select a partner as soon as possible. Companies are already teaming up, so you need to hurry. Ensure that you have 4 to 5 cushion points, as I mentioned previously, even if you have to partner to get them. Maximize the use of your subcontracts and or commercial contracts, if you have any. There's no difference. You get the points and that's it. Check compliance, think compliance, and eat compliance. It's really important. Don't lose time. Time is of essence. You don't want to miss the 2026 task orders. So start yesterday, start as soon as possible. And here I wanted to share our experience in terms of the time and resources needed for the preparation and submission of the OASIS Plus proposal. There are essentially 4 main phases. There is a phase 0 eligibility assessment if you're unsure about moving forward, but there are 4 main phases. Phase 1, contract selection and score optimization. Phase 2, preparation of the proposal documents. That's essentially the proposal preparation, or we call it substantiation. Phase 3, compliance reviews. It's a phase by itself, important. And then phase 4, uploading to Symphony. Symphony is the government's portal. Don't underestimate this. It usually takes 2 or 3 days. It's not a copy paste. So the graphical representation of the time and resources for each phase is shown also. So you can see that 50% of the time is spent in phase 1, contract selection and score optimization. This is the average we have found preparing over 200 OASIS Plus and other self-scoring proposals. So I just wanted to share this with you as well. So how can we help you on OASIS Plus? Here are the services we have. We have free consultation. Just we set up time to call and we discuss, answer any questions you have. Free partnering hub, which I showed you, and you can go to the website and register, and then start finding teaming partners. Pre-qualification assessment, again, I gave you the link, $490, so that you don't spend money on something that you don't have the minimum capabilities. Also, it gives you where your gaps are, so you know how to partner with others. Full proposal development with dedicated proposal team. So we do scoring, assessment, optimization, full proposal assembly, cradle to grave. Everything is on us. Full and multiple compliance checks, uploading to Symphony. All of this is on us. We are different from other companies. Some companies just give you consultation. That's not how we work. We don't give consultation. We take the responsibility, because at the end of the day, we want you to win. It's good for us. Our win rate is good for you. You don't lose your money and you get awarded. So we take the whole, heavyweight and work, and you just provide us with the documents. We do everything else for you. And finally, for those of you who have in-house teams, we do reviewing and auditing. So we do 2 rounds of compliance checks and score optimization checks, and we also help and audit uploading to Symphony for you. So these are the services we provide. Here are contact information, myself, email and phone number, and my colleague Maroon Freedy. So if you have any sales inquiries or you want to set up calls, just contact Maroon. Email is usually better for both of us. Technical questions for me, and consulting and sales inquiries for Maroon, and we can set up calls, jump on them and discuss any of your needs or answer any questions you might have. Okay, now it's the time for Q&A session. Unfortunately, I talked too much as usual and we are short of time. So let me answer a few questions. Question from Sandra: can we use contracts, you call them QPs, from our subcontractors? Yes, QPs and FEPs all can come from your subcontractors. So you have an open hand to use. I once saw a company, all the 5 QPs were coming from their subs. It's up to you how you want to make it up. Question from Adam: how do we do the pricing at the IDIQ level? Okay, so as I mentioned, you're supposed to provide hourly rate pricings for 20 SME, subject matter expert LCATs, and that's it. There's a form that comes with the RFP. You just put in those hourly rates in there. You show the calculations, obviously, but that's it. You're not supposed to provide, any other types of pricing. Question from Stephen: how much time do we have to prepare our proposals? So essentially, this is an open rolling admission type. You would then think that you can submit any time. That is correct contractually, but if you delay, you will be missing all the important task orders that they're lining up for 2026, especially since there was a lot of delays in 2025 due to changes in policies. So you don't want to miss those opportunities. So the quicker you can actually prepare your proposal and submit, the quicker you will be awarded and then compete for these task orders. Maria, question from Maria: can we use multiple subs? Yes, of course. There's no limitation on the number of subs you can bring to the table. We had a client last time, they had 8 subcontractors and they got awarded. That's it, they got the points. Question from Carol: we are an 8A company. If we use a sub, do they also need to be 8A as well? I'm assuming they must be small as well, right? Good question, Carol. Yes, they must be small, but they don't have to be an 8A. The requirement is that they have to be small, but they don't have to be the same set aside as you. And this works for everything else. So if you're a hub zone, your sub doesn't have to be hub zone and things like that. So I see a lot of questions about sales and inquiries about our services. I will communicate with you directly on these. But yes, essentially, as I mentioned, we can support you fully on this. Okay, unfortunately, we are past our allotted time. So I would like to first apologize for not being able to answer all your questions. I will certainly respond by email to all the questions. Also, thank you for participating in our webinar. I look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as well. Have a wonderful day.